Struggling to discuss sex and intimacy with your partner?
Not feeling met, seen, or heard in your relationships?
I'm Janelle.
And I'm Andrea. We're two midlife mavericks sharing our own experiences.
Messy AF and no regrets.
With marriage, divorce, polyamory, and pleasure.
We've learned that when you're brave enough to figure out what you want and ask for it,
with partners, friends, family, and most importantly, yourself,
you'll feel more alive and free.
Question everything, especially your mother's advice.
There's no rom-com formula for this, but don't panic.
Being alone matters. Honey, I can't miss you if you don't leave.
What if your breakup could be your breakthrough?
Our podcast is for brave hearts.
Anyone who seeks or has found the courage to confront their fears and limiting beliefs about breaking societal norms in the spirit of finding their truth.
If you're seeking permission to be brave in your relationships
and want to feel less alone along the way, we got you.
Sophie Howell, the language of empowerment. I know it changed my life in a day. Mm-hmm. And on this episode, Sophie talks about how you can change your life by changing your language. And mm-hmm. I'm still I'm really blown away by the power of this. This is on the path to building a relationship with yourself, and it is simpler than that. It is tuning into you and claiming yourself.
Sophie speaks in all these pithy maxims, these phrases that just go right into your heart that you're like, oh, I can remember that. And I too, in one session, I know like she does sometimes longer sessions, but in one session found a root cause of my fears and how I was moving through the world. And I changed as a result of that awareness. Sophie is an incredible teacher and facilitator of this modality. And I agree, Andrea. I think anyone listening, there's people who are listening to this episode alone without even working with her who are going to get something out of it. They're going to learn something about themselves today.
Yeah. And Sophie has walked the walk. She has been on a very challenging journey. So here comes Sophie Howell up next. Hello, brave hearts. Welcome to Permission to be Human. I'm Andrea.
And I'm Janelle.
And we are doing the next episode in our series about how to build a relationship with yourself. It's been just a wild ride. And it's funny, I just re-listened to some of our old episodes yesterday, and I'm like, it's like learning it all over again. Like, it's hard to learn while we're talking. And I'm like, wow, there's so much stuff in there. So I'm really excited to dive in today and talk to Sophie Howell.
Yes.
And Janelle, tell us how you know Sophie, and then why don't you introduce her?
Yes. Sophie is one of my dearest friends. She is I call her the fairy godmother of creation and someone else called her, like, she's basically a walking festival of creativity. Like, there's literally nothing she cannot create in any medium, in any form, in any idea. Like, it's just there. Right? And so she has been instrumental in my life in many ways for many years, but especially with the Goddess Temple and the Church of Witness Sisterhood. So it is such an honor and a privilege to be interviewing her today. She's also, as you'll hear, the creator of the Spirit Crowns. And so if you're watching on YouTube, you can see her wearing one right now.
Yeah. And I just want to give examples. Like, there's Spirit Crowns, there's mosaics, there's massive murals. There's, I don't even know all the rest. Like,
there's sculpture, goddess sculptures.
Right. There's
wedding planning.
I can turn that door into a moss-covered piece of art. Sure, no problem. Let's do that.
Yes.
So, yeah, beautiful. All right.
And she also creates fairy-themed weddings. So, okay. Sophie's mission in life is to awaken magic and authenticity in everyone she meets. She does that through a language of empowerment coaching, along with bodywork, breathwork, and sound healing. Sophie's facilitated over 20 retreats, led dozens of workshops at Burning Man, and has oodles of experience running teams and bringing immersive, large-scale experiences to life. She is currently getting her PhD in transformational coaching, is a graduate of Mama Gina's School of Womenly Arts Mastery Program, and has certifications in somatics, shamanism, ceremony, quantum healing, and so many other juicy concepts. While her favorite role is mom, she is an artist in all that she does, and Sophie is also co-founder of Everland, Witness Sisterhood, the Goddess Temple, and founder of Spirit Crowns.
Thanks for coming on, Sophie.
I'm really so honored to be here. I'm obsessed with you. I'm obsessed with you. It's really fun to be here and all that you're both creating in the world and just opening conversations that are, kind of scary for some people. And this podcast just really gives so much permission.
First, I think I want to know about the language of empowerment and how does that help us build a relationship with ourselves?
I love this modality. It is so laser, so cool, and really gets straight to the heart. And one of the main basis of the modality, language of empowerment, is that our divine birthright is enthusiasm. That we are meant to live in a high level of love. Enthusiasm comes from the word entheos, which means with God, with love, with light, with truth.
Wow.
And so anything that we are living at less than that, we are in some kind of separation, believing some kind of lie, have told ourselves some kind of a story. And for example, our bodies are meant to live at a high level of enthusiasm. When you're in stress, when you're in I'm not enough, when you're in, oh my God, what am I going to do? Or panic or any of that, you're aging faster. You're essentially poisoning your body with different stress chemicals in order to, for example, keep yourself awake if you were in like a cave and there might be a danger. And now we create those dangers all the time just in our mind because the mind can't differentiate between what's actually real and what's happening or what we're telling ourselves is real.
So what you just described, that is the language of empowerment. Is that you described it as a modality, but can you give me a little bit more about?
So there's a couple different steps to the modality, I guess I would say. It's basically a method of transformation, and with the basis being that we live in enthusiasm. And so I can look at my language and see where I'm living in separation or where I'm living in unity by how I'm speaking, my tonal frequencies, the phrases I'm using, and how I'm inviting resistance into my life.
Through language, right?
Language.
Our language is what's inviting the resistance in.
Yeah.
Okay.
So every self-sabotaging program or pattern has the word not in it. Every single one. So when I identify those and trace them back to where I'm at, I can reverse that, upgrade my subconscious, and then move from a place of enthusiasm and love in my life.
Wow, you made it sound very simple, but.
Well, and I feel maybe an example would be good here.
Yeah.
And I'll use my example because I did do a session with Sophie in the language of empowerment. And there's like the root of it. We drill down to many things, but the root of it was I had this feeling of I said I can't do something. And she's like, oh, what's this can't about? And then we went through my memory and so where was the first time I said I can't? And so correct me if I'm getting this wrong. And we came to, oh, I can't breathe. I was 2 years old. I was having an asthma attack, my very first one. I was in my parents' bed. And that's what I was saying. But I don't have asthma anymore, right? But that coding of I can't breathe was still inside of me. And so then Sophie helped me essentially, I'm gonna say, unlock that phrasing. And so now I do this all the time. I walk around, I'm like, I can breathe. I can breathe. I can breathe. And it changes.
And for you specifically,
it just changed me.
I give me permission to live my inspired life because of the breathing.
Uh-huh.
And I can live my inspired life. To
Mm-hmm.
take it even further from the breathing to then, okay, what's happening on the inner is happening on the outer. And I love, it's easy for me to live my inspired life. It's easy for me to breathe my inspired life. With every breath, my inspired life is becoming greater and greater. It's like that. And so, yeah, it sounds like it's a really mental modality, but it's really all about going in to a memory, feeling it, and finding the return and what claiming what you are instead of what you are not.
And I also have had time with Sophie, which was amazing and felt like 6 therapy sessions in an hour and a half, and it was really massive to get the message I knew that I was saying to myself, the narrative. And I will say that, like, trying to reverse that narrative is pretty fucking challenging. So, like, knowing it, like, you're like, oh, this is what I've been telling myself. So do you help people with both of those journeys?
Yeah, so I would say it's different from just positive psychology or faking it until you make it, because we go in and feel the memory where your system agreed with it. And
Uh-huh.
so, for example, Janelle made an agreement with I can't just as a 2-year-old from having whatever, and it may have been passed down from something from her mom or who knows, or something in her environment signaled for her to, instead of to move away from oneness and, I am infinite love and peace and joy and inspiration, all those things, to I can't breathe. I can't live my inspired life. And so when we go into that memory, we take a look at the emotions that are happening. And the only bad emotion is the stuck emotion. And the emotions get stuck when you have hate, shame, blame, or guilt around having that emotion. And so Janelle felt, I can't breathe. And she also likely felt, I hate this. And I hate that I'm having these big emotions that are making my parents uncomfortable and making, so then that is how it gets stuck in her system until decades later in life, she's unraveling it. So it's kind of like that's the resistance, and that's all from making something right or wrong. It then gets you in a hate, shame, blame, guilt, and sort of a victim spiral, and you end up in a reactionary version of life. And so instead of just saying decrees and affirmations again and again and again and again, we're really going in and almost doing psychic surgery to see what's actually in there, really feeling like when I say I can't or I'm not enough, feelings are the gateways to memories. So when I really feel what I feel when I say I can't breathe or I can't, and I feel into, a memory will surface. And then we go into that memory and we make it okay. Because that's the charge on the right and wrongness of that emotion there. And the right and the hate, shame, blame, or guilt that you have around having that emotion is what is keeping that pattern in your vibration. And so when you change it on the inner, you see the change on the outer.
Okay. I love the psychic surgery phrase.
Yeah.
I think it's really, really powerful. And I think you just described kind of the benefit of using the language of empowerment to build a relationship with yourself versus just staying on the surface with language, that
like
feels better or sounds better.
Call in abundance or call in something that you desire, there's likely something in you, some kind of pattern. Carl Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. And so get curious around it. Go check it out. Stop having it be some big scary thing. Understand that, okay, great. I was human and I had this thing come up and it was scary or it was big or it was unfair. And what's so beautiful about language of empowerment is it really is rooted in a lot of ownership. I am the creator of my life. There's a central locus of control that I have. And studies show that people that believe that they have a central locus of control, which is essentially I create my own reality. I'm responsible for everything that happens in my life, which is, could be really big and scary for some people with what's happened. That means it also puts me in the driver's seat. Now I get to see what I've made and say, wow, good job. If I make a lot of compost, I can make a lot of flowers. Even in really tough stuff. So, for example, I was running a lot of victim programming for my whole first 28 years of life, I would say. And I had to keep creating situations to be a victim, or else who would I be without my victimhood? I was really set on negative intimacy. I was really set on attention when something is wrong, and continuing to speak into that pattern and run that pattern. And so then I kept calling in situations where I get to be a victim because that's what I understand my identity is.
Yeah. Sophie, how does this relate to existential kink, or does it?
Yeah, it definitely does. Because existential kink is really admitting to yourself that you are calling in whatever you're calling in to because you like it, because you're addicted to it, or because it's just part of your pattern. And once you bring it in and you love it and you kink it out, it neutralizes the charge and it no longer has power over you. Now I'm turned on. Now I'm in my power. Now I'm aware that I love fighting with my partner. This is what I love to do. I love the rush I get. I love the arousal I get. I love the adrenaline I get, which is inaccurate for me. My partner is this anyway, but
yeah, just an example.
Yeah. It's an example. Yeah. Then so that releases the charge, and you'll actually out kink your kink.
Amazing. Okay, yeah, I'm just understanding it a little bit more.
When it comes to traumas, right? What it is someone be like, oh, I don't like to be like harmed or abused or whatever the word is. But there's also, and this is like hard to understand, there's a comfort in what we know.
Yes.
Right. And so we surround ourselves in the comfort of what we know when that's actually not what we desire.
Yeah.
But it's like having to like separate those things out. And so that's what I heard. Like you were comfortable in your victimhood. And then you're like, oh, but I don't desire it anymore. Even though I could see why I was drawing it in.
Yeah. And what's actually, when I say I don't want to be uncomfortable, what's actually present is being uncomfortable. Like if I say to you, like say we're at a restaurant and you're the server, ask me what I would like to order.
Would you like
what would I
for
like to
dinner?
order? I don't want a hamburger. So ask me again.
What would you like for dinner?
I don't want a hamburger. Ask me again.
What would you like for dinner tonight?
I do not want a hamburger. So you're probably going to go back to the kitchen and be like, guys, I don't know. She kept saying she doesn't want a hamburger. I don't know. Do you think she actually wants one? Should we just go back there? Should we just bring her a hamburger? I mean, it's the only thing she's mentioned. It's kind of like that, or like say, ask me where I'm going. Where are you going this weekend?
Where are you going this weekend?
Not Houston. Ask me again.
Where are you going this weekend?
I'm not going to Houston. Have I actually voiced to the universe what I choose? Am I living in what I'm not, or am I living in what I am? So there's kind of this invisible like bowl, I imagine, up in these angelic realms where you're putting your focus into the I am not or the I am. Am I more in what I don't want or what I choose? Am I living in the language of separation or the language of unity? Am I claiming what I desire and focused on that? Or am I more in the fear of what might cause me pain because I'm scared of pain? And so when really pain is the gateway to intuition.
One of the concepts we've talked about in the past is as we were conditioned as kids is, seek love and seek happiness and definitely don't get divorced. Right. And so I think there was, for a while, this message of just like, well, as long as I'm not getting divorced, like it's okay. Because that's the ultimate failure.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is what it will come out of nowhere, right? When really it's actually just awakening to us that we've been living in more fear than we have been living in loving our life. And that's totally okay, because now what we get to do is expand. I mean, that's why we have the negative mind, the don't touch that, is that our consciousness is ever evolving. And when we take a look at whatever your not statements are, whatever you have fear about, when you take a look at it, it's either an opportunity to upgrade a self-sabotaging pattern or expand into more love. Every time. Every single sentence out of someone's mouth is either I am love or I need love. Every statement. And most of the issues on the problem are because people are living from a place of I am not instead of I am.
Okay, Bravehearts, let's just take a breath into that statement right there. That like what Sophie is telling us is that with every sentence that we say, no matter what we're saying, at the core of it, the essence, we're either saying I am love or I need love.
And Sophie, are you saying that either of those are right or wrong or good or bad, or that they just exist and we're...
I love this question. Yeah, because it really all comes from living in a paradigm of right and wrong. So when I'm right and you're wrong, or you're saying you're right and I'm wrong, there's separation. So most of that hate, blame, shame, guilt, victim spiral, I'm right, narcissism, superiority, perpetrator, I'm wrong, victim, depression, hopelessness, etc. Strong, right, and wrong leads to, really big division. Yeah, really big separation on bigger scales. And when we get out of right and wrong and go into living from a place of actions and results, there's no charge on it, right? Like if I'm saying something and I'm angry and I'm right, versus saying, okay, this happened. This is how I feel about it.
I love this. We're like getting into like how you're managing it and like how it's applying to your body. So when you're working with clients, and this seems like a tool that helps them get to know themselves better and build that relationship, what happens?
Great question. So every thought I have creates a chemical in my brain. And when I can, when I shift my thoughts and when I check in with my feelings and where those feelings are coming from, what's the root thought stem happening with them, I can change my entire reality. I've seen the most incredible miracles happen in relationship or in abundance or in, just the most amazing synchronicities. Because when I stop sowing resistance into my path and start trusting and loving and being, I'm now on this super fun, synchronistic, co-creative journey with Source. And it is amazing. And I return to love that I'm the creator. I get to do this. I get to use my co-creative gift. I get to live in joy and my inspired life and fun and presence. But when I get down into the story of that perspective, because your body is, my body's actually addicted to certain types of chemicals or stress levels or something. When I notice those and when I have my clients notice those, it's like, oh, as soon as you notice it, I can make a change. So to name a thing is to have power over it. So that's one of the spiritual laws. So when I name, oh, wow, I'm feeling like I hate this, and it's actually okay for me to hate it. I get to hate it. That's fine. We're so scared to name these big feelings that we have and make it okay. Now I can relax and I can see what there is for me to do about it. That's actually sowing into more love instead of more I'm right, I'm wrong, you're wrong, all that kind of thing.
What's beautiful. What's coming up for me is I remember when I was in my relationship, like one of the really big ahas was, my partner had a boundary of not desiring to have sex with me. And so we didn't. And then I recognized that, I had been fighting against his boundary, wanting his boundary to be different. Instead, when I got to the moment, I was like, there's nothing wrong with his boundary. I'm just honoring his boundary and not honoring my own boundary. What was my boundary? And my boundary is, I wanted to be having sex with my primary partner. And so that wasn't available because it didn't meet his boundary. So suddenly it was then it's just not here. It's just kind of the anger, there was all the things that were keeping us in resistance was simply you have a boundary. And I allowed myself to have a boundary. And then once I did that, I was our boundaries aren't aligned. Okay, we should change our relationship.
Yeah. And, you know, in that, I would imagine that you're making him wrong for it. And then you're feeling shame because it's out of alignment with your desire or your desire for a specific, a different setting on your boundary. And so then you're stuck in the us, them instead of the unity and the joy and the flow.
Right. And being like, oh, if I honor my own boundary, and then in our case, we ended up getting divorced. Oh, and now we're in right relationship.
Yeah.
Right. We were in wrong relationship. Now we're
there's so many
in my
stories
mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Like in my mind, as Andrea said earlier, like, oh, I felt like divorce is a failure. So I was like, I can't have that, which was keeping me in this resistance instead of being, oh, the right relationship for he and I to be in love is to actually not be married. And for each of us to be able to honor our own boundaries.
And that it's okay. That's actually totally okay. I'm the one applying the story to this. I'm the one making it right or wrong or having this big charge and this resistance that's keeping you stuck in whatever it is, instead of, oh, this is my truth and I get to name it, own it, and set myself free every time.
Set myself free.
Andrea, what do you got? What do you got?
More music. No, I'm so excited. Like, this is like a great segue into what else I wanted to talk about, because what I'm hearing is that one of the biggest obstacles for Janelle, for you, and I know for me as well, and Janelle and I've talked about this a million fucking times. It's like, oh, it's this focus on the other. It's just like, and we would, as Brave Hearts have heard, like I would listen to her leave a Vox for me, and then I would leave a Vox for her. And our reflections for each other would be like, yes, I heard a lot about him, right? Like all about him. What about you? No, I know how he feels. What about you? No, back to you.
Earlier in my 20s, I hated that my parents fought. I hated that they were in an abusive relationship. Then you become what you hate. Here I am in my early 20s, and what I said I would never be in an abusive relationship. And a woman will actually leave an abusive relationship when the voices, when what she's hearing in the abuse is just a little bit turned up more volume than her own voices in her head. That's when it actually cleaves and she leaves. So if you trace it back to any abuse in your life and how I was talking to myself or how you were talking to yourself in those moments during those times, it will match what you're actually saying in your inner dialogue to yourself. So when we look at the other and continue to point blame, it's always a co-creation. It's always a reflection of what you are experiencing on the inner. Isn't that cool?
Yeah. So what I'm hearing is if you hear yourself blaming someone else for anything, then it's an invitation to go, oh, what about me? What is it that I'm saying to myself that's either bringing this in, that's creating this, that's co-creating this?
The funny thing is, like, that's one big thing in itself, which is, I think, an obstacle to building a relationship with yourself, is just focusing on the other, right? It's like, no, it's his fault.
Yes.
But the funny thing is that the messages I was just talking about that Janelle and I would leave for each other were not necessarily mostly accusatory of the other person. There was some of that, but it was also just projecting and anticipating and guessing what they were feeling.
Yeah.
Because for some reason that was easier or more comfortable. I'm not sure. What do you think, Janelle? Than going and being like, oh no, what do I want?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think ultimately it feels like there's a cost when we have a desire and we have to stand in the desire and express the desire. There is often a cost. There could be a rejection.
Yep.
Right. And so if you can go into this, there could be
where there's
that
love, there's sacrifice.
Yeah. Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
and sometimes then we might even get what we want. We might actually get our desire, and then sometimes getting the desire is uncomfortable.
Because we're not used to having it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then we become afraid of losing it, right? Then we get it, but then like, oh, can I really even have it? Is it okay for it to be this easy, for this fun, for this?
Yes, right.
Like, oh no. And so then there's another.
Who am I now without my being in the wanting? Who am I now without,
absolutely.
If my identity is all wrapped up in complaining about my partner, who am I going to be when that partner shifts? Because that's what I know. That's what's comfortable. Yeah.
And the struggle. I know the struggle. The struggle is where I, sit.
Actually, can I share my chaos theory? Can I share this with you? It's really fun. So
yeah, Sophie, what's your chaos theory?
Yeah. Okay, great. So it's so cool. So many things made so much sense when I understood this. So basically, when I complain about something, or anticipate, worry, whatever, it kind of goes up into one of those like imaginary buckets I was talking about, right? And eventually that bucket is going to tip out and there will be a rupture. So every single rupture, if you trace the energetic signature of it back, you can trace how many times you sat at your job and secretly seethed hating it inside, how many times you were, calling your sister to complain about your baby daddy or whatever it was, and then there will be either a natural cleaving where those things gently separate, or there will be a big rupture. And you will look and see that it's actually kind of like existential kink, where you've actually called this in the whole time and now you're getting it. And then what happens during a rupture? Chaos, right? You start asking big questions. You hit rock bottom, you whatever. And then it's like foggy and murky. And instead of just like, living through it, just on the algorithm, you are suddenly going, whoa, what am I doing with my life? Why am I doing it? What is my value system? What kind of choices am I making? So you ask big questions. And so that's really beautiful, because then in that little time window, you get to reset your algorithm for what you're calling in, what you're doing, what your intentions are, and you can make a big shift, right? And
when you're using the word algorithm there, could you just define that or explain it, what you're saying?
Great question. This is not the Facebook algorithm. This is our path through life. So kind of like, human design, or your astrology, or something like all these. Basically, you're living your life and you have a certain set of behaviors and you're used to doing those behaviors and you cue up those behaviors. So you're going to keep doing those same behaviors, like thinking about, running around in your partner's head and what they might be thinking and what they might be doing and all that stuff. If you're used to doing that, you'll just keep doing that until there's a rupture and a chaos and a pattern disruptor that's going to have you go, whoa, wait, okay, whoa, why would I think that?
Right.
What's going on with that?
Okay. And that's what you're saying is the chaos, right? So this is actually just amazingly how all these things are all run together now, because this is in my own permission coaching, I'm coming down to frequently saying, what's your pattern interrupt? Like, what's going to be your pattern interrupt? You have to choose something, right?
So
something's going to shift.
Takes your power back. As you realize you can do it in these micro moments instead of waiting for hitting rock bottom or the big, it's taking so that you're putting your energy into a different pot, instead of the I am not and it's wrong and all that, into the I love my life, I choose my life, I trust this, things are working out for me.
Okay, my question is, do we have to have the big rupture, pattern interrupt in order to get to this point of the chaos? I'm thinking of a woman right now who I know who it's clear from all of us around her that she's really in this like dark place, even though she pretends that she's not. And yet I was like, I don't think there's anything we can do until something really terrible happens in order to like break that pattern. But I think I heard you just say that that's not true, that you can don't have to wait for the terrible thing to happen.
I can absolutely solve it before that happens. I can be taking a shower and having a realization. I mean, it depends how you want to define rupture. And for some people, they're until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate, right? Like, or I can sit there and decide and make the choice in myself to go into the shadow, or go into where I'm feeling pain, go into whatever feels like darkness. Instead of making it wrong, say, okay, cool, there's a message for me. This is awesome. Great. And allow that to come forward. Because when I'm in no, denial, there's no fluidity of the energy or movement or really messages from the divine, I would call it. There's no quantum connection that is going to give me an inspired step to take. I'm really in my little human perception self. I'm in the rat race instead of going up to into observer and recognize that I can surrender whatever is feeling big for me and trust that the steps will come.
Bravehearts, what also is at play here is that human nature is not going to help you out in this situation, because the region beta paradox, which is something I talk about sometimes in my coaching, says that we're probably just going to stay in the comfortable, oh, it's okay, it's not great place and we're actually going to recover better if something massive happens. So they say, like, if you have a really big blow up with a partner, okay, well, now I need to leave, right? But if it just keeps going on, you're just like, well, it's not that bad. It's the same thing if you break your ankle versus spraining your ankle. You sprain your ankle, you keep walking on it. It's fine. It'll be all right. You don't really take care of it. You break your ankle. You can't walk. You have to sit down. You have to heal it. Yeah. So we're not on our own. It's our human tendency to just kind of keep going.
Yeah, good is the enemy of great. What's lukewarm in your life? Check it out.
Ooh,
go ahead and have that conversation that's deep within you that you haven't really been admitting to yourself. Speak up. The sooner you speak up, the sooner I get to live my inspired life and trust what is, instead of what I'm kind of secretly judging, but it's also kind of fine and it's whatever. Because it would be kind of uncomfortable and different to actually slow down and nurse my ankle when I can kind of make it work.
Well, what I'm hearing is we can only make that choice for ourselves, right? I can't look at my friend and be like, oh, you're really miserable, even though you're telling me you're not. Everything about you is in this like negative thing. And so I could be like, oh, you should go see Sophie, right? Because unless it's coming from within her, it's not.
You can also reflect her language to her. You can say, what I'm hearing is, I'm mostly hearing you complain about XYZ. So I'm also hearing you say that you're happy. Can you explain how these things are, that you're feeling true joy? Because it feels from your language that you're living in duality. And duality is purgatory, is stuckness.
Are there other obstacles you see in your work, Sophie, that really prevent someone from building that relationship with themselves?
Love that. Yeah, I would say so most of our American society is all about do something. So then I can be successful, joyful, happy, blah, blah, blah. And then I can have the family, the kids, the car, the lake house, whatever. Okay. Instead, slow down and be joy. I control my body chemistry. I can marinate on gratitude. I can be in receptivity. So instead of do, be, have, we're going to be joy, be love. And then, okay, now, because if I keep looking for my business to be successful when I do, and then it's out there, it's not living in me. So I'm separate from it and I'm going to keep chasing it. So when I be joy or I be success, then I do whatever the impulse is, whatever I get from the divine. And then I have my successful business, my divine partnership, whatever it is.
Okay. So I just heard be, do, have instead of any other.
So I would say
order.
in life, slow down and claim it and be it, exude that energy, be that at that frequency and vibration. And then you will magically be led on this super fun synchronistic journey of falling more in love with your life.
How is that different than fake it till you make it?
Because I'm actually shifting my body chemistry inside me. I'm really feeling peace. I'm really feeling joy. And I'm walking in the faith and the trust versus trying to walk in faith and trust.
And so does that like this change in the languaging, changing our languaging is what changes the body chemistry. And when the body chemistry changes, that's how we're feeling something differently versus trying to feel something.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's
Slowing
helpful
down,
explanation.
Watching your language. So the number of knots someone says directly correlates to the amount of anger and resentment in their life and pain and dis-ease in their body.
Okay.
So slowing down and catching your thoughts, and instead of saying what isn't, like I don't want a hamburger, saying what is, I do desire cheesecake.
The other thing I'm hearing is that the obstacle to transformation is looking outside yourself for the answer, looking outside yourself for whatever it is. Because when you keep doing that, you don't get it, right? You're like,
and what
no,
story you're telling about it, right? So if I keep looking at those other things, and the story I'm telling myself is that I can't have them, or I don't know what they are, or I can't trust them, versus I love trusting my world and my life is a blessing to me, then I'm living being defined by the outer instead of listening inward and writing my own story and getting into my creator self. I think is like Janelle called me fairy godmother of creation earlier, which I really love. And I actually believe that all of us, or we are all creators. Like we are, when you're living in your I am, you're in service, you're in your offering, you're in your gift, you're building things, you're having so much fun, you're creating in the world instead of so much focus on what's not working, processing, anxiety. What are they going to say? What are they going to think? It's like, I'm doing this and I love doing that and I care about it, and join me. There's this fun synergy and energy with that.
Mm-hmm.
So what's coming up for me, Brave Hearts, is, well, one, I just want to acknowledge that I think you could be listening to Sophie and be like, this sounds like a whole bunch of woo, right? She's using a lot of words that I'm like, I'm not sure. There's the quantum and there's divine and there's all these things. And I just want to like raise my hand and say that I have had this experience with Sophie and it has been transformational. So I'm like a testimonial to that. And I know Andrea is as well. Yeah. But what I simply want to invite in is like what I see is like, do you consider yourself a negative person? Do you consider like, and if you're not sure if you are, like, can you imagine someone in your life who you think they're a negative person? Right. And that just, and like negative being like, oh, they just always have a negative way about them, about speaking, about like, I have to do this. I don't want to do this, blah, 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 blah. And that to me is just like, that's the sign of resistance where this modality could potentially be really useful. If you hear yourself saying the nots, I can't, I won't, all the time, then that's an invitation to pause and reflect.
Yeah, I mean, our language creates our reality, shapes our experience. It signals to the body what your internal pharmacy, what kind of emotions to produce in the endocrine system, whether you're in fight or flight. And when I pause and notice what they are and instead reach for a different thought, I'm going to create a totally different reality, set of chemicals in my body, set of feelings. And then what I'm calling in and what I'm moving towards is going to be different because I've changed my frequency. And we could wait for a big disruptor, or we can do it in these micro moments.
Something that I used to do was something I used to do and probably still do, but I'm more aware of doing now, is fighting for my own limitations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, solution. No, that's not going to work because of da-da-da. Right. Mm-hmm. And there's the not. Right. No, I can't. No, I not. No, I can't. No, I not. And I'm wondering, as Janelle mentioned, the negativity versus the positivity, how does that play in when you have someone who's more anxious, hypothetically speaking?
I would take a look at what questions this person is asking. You know, how are we going to do that? But also the energy signature they're doing it with. And because you're going to get an answer that's on the same energetic signature. So if I'm asking questions from a place of worry, I'm going to get a reason to worry about it. So I get what I'm asking for every time. Or even asking like, you know, why am I so stupid? I'm going to get more reasons why I'm stupid. Why am I such a fuck up? I'm going to get so many reasons more reasons that I'm a fuck up, to prove myself right every time.
I love that. Yeah. Tracing it back to the question, like the format of the question is important.
Like what's really being asked here, and what's the worry? And is it a real worry? Is there a real danger? Or is this something that I am concerned about and I can actually talk myself down, talk myself off the cliff, and then go, okay, as a creator, what am I creating with this? And is this my highest choice?
What I did hear was it's not just the format of the question, it's the energy at which the question is asked. Yeah. So for example, that's what I heard, right? So it's the
like truth of the truth. Yeah. Yeah.
Like there's something about like, oh, what's our next step? And like what's coming next versus like, well, what's coming next?
I mean, that makes sense. And it's a big ask for someone who's anxious. I I mean, it's yeah, which is, I'm sure it's hard work, but like, no, that getting to
the
that
things we
different
can
spirit
control
of
are,
tone is
yeah,
come
I can
getting to that
control.
spirit. Let me just say something. So
Perfect.
getting to that energy of a word and saying a question in that energy versus the anxious energy is, that's the goal of my life. I mean, when you're anxious, I'm in the anxiety until I am reassured, right? So that's a pretty significant challenge.
Yeah, I'm hearing that feels like a big leap. And I would say in my own life, coming from, I have come through addiction, depression, rape, extreme victimhood, insecurity, desiring to disappear, suicide, deep depression. Quite a list. And it takes just one moment at a time, really being present with what's present and really taking hold of what's the story, where to come from, and believing in myself that I can do this, that I can change. And the only one who can change is me. I recently heard a different version of the Serenity Prayer that I think is from, maybe from Al Anon, I choose them exactly, but it's God grant me the serenity to accept the people I cannot change, the wisdom to change the one that I can, and the courage to know that it is me.
Wow, that's beautiful. I love that.
I'm just going to name it is from ACA.
ACA. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Adult Children
What's
of
ACA?
Alcoholics. That's it. Versus Al-Anon. Yeah.
ACA is Adult Children of Alcoholics. Got it.
And that's the prayer they do at the beginning of every meeting.
So beautiful. I just heard
love
that this week for the first time. Amazing.
Wow. Sophie, do you have any easily digestible and accessible Braveheart homework for our audience?
Yeah. I would say
on
my
their
homework.
road to building a relationship to themselves?
Yeah. I love this question. I would say number one is noticing where you're complaining and just keep your mouth shut. See what happens. See if you can go one day without complaining. One day. And then see if you can go 2 days. And then see if you can go a week. And then maybe 10 days. And just start to see, because it's kind of, you reap what you sow, greater than you sowed, later than you sowed. So if I keep sowing complaining, I'm going to keep having things to complain about. So what if I let that voice quiet and then allowed my creator self to step forward of what is working, what is good, and your energy grows where your attention goes. So when I start to focus on what is working instead of what I hate, I'm going to start to see a lot more things that are more fun and that I love in my life.
I'm hearing just a lot of really key phrases, and maybe that's part of the language of empowerment. And so I'm gonna summarize those because I'm such a word person too. Like there's just been a lot of things you've tossed out. What was that? Psychic surgery and internal pharmacy. Those were a couple right there.
I'll give you another one. Femifesting. I'm all about the femifesting. You're going to summarize. Now I'm giving you another one.
Oh my God.
Manifesting is when you go out and you penetrate and you do the thing and you figure it out and you manifest it. Femifesting is when you stay home and you write in your journal and you meditate and you light a candle and you do your rituals and you take your sacred bath. And then you trust, and there's no other option other than the thing to be here with you because it already is, and you're living at that frequency. And then you seduce it to you. You femifest it directly to you. And I have done this, and it's magical and it works.
Oh my God, amazing. Oh, amazing. Love this shit. Femifest. Can't wait to, I need to make a sticker. It says Femifest. Okay.
I love that idea. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Yeah, you could make that happen.
Sophie. Yeah, Sophie can make anything happen.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Sophie, your wisdom, there's the pithy maxims, just the joy. I mean, I really do. I heard you say your list of traumas on this, and the fact that you embody the most embodied feminine, beauty, creative, like human that I know, is just such a testament to who you allowed yourself to be, who you always were when you put down that victimhood story. And it's really an inspiration and a blessing to be your friend.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a journey. I mean, there's could be even more things to add to the list, and I could live in that, or I choose to see all of that as a blessing of my becoming. And once I get out of the burden of, oh, this happened to me, and it is a blessing that my mom was bipolar. It's a blessing that my dad was an alcoholic. It's a blessing that I had a brother who died. Like it's a blessing, all of that. And I get to walk in that and understand that there's a purpose for it for me. And when I focus on the purpose instead of the pain, I set myself free and I take hold more love and I free up all that energy in my body instead of holding on to the resentment and the contraction of the pain of all of that. Instead, I can breathe, I can trust, I can love, I can walk in faith, and I can ignite inspiration and joy and authenticity in everyone I meet, just like my mission statement.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, amazing. Sophie, how can people work with you? How can they find you?
Yeah, my website is sophiehowell.com.
Braveheart Sophie is available online or in person at sophiehowell.com. Thank you so much. Yay.
Thank you. Amazing women. This is so important. And I love listening to your podcast. And I love having a brave heart.
Yeah, you're going to change someone's life today, Sophie.
Yeah.
Probably many.
Thanks. Yes. If there's any questions too, feel free to email me or message me on my site. This was a lot of dense feeling concepts, and they're actually also really simple. It's really just notice when you're in right and wrong, notice the hate, blame, shame spiral that you might be in, and return to love. You know, how would I rather be love or be right? And you may find you would rather be love.
Boom. Thank you. Thank you, Sophie. Thanks, Bravehearts, for listening. And we'll see you next time.
Hey, Bravehearts. Looking for permission? Work with us. We offer Braveheart coaching. Follow us on Instagram. Meet us in real life at a Braveheart conversation. Subscribe to our newsletter. Do all this and more at our website, permissiontobehuman.live.